Hello guys and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be looking at a scenario in which the European Union goes to war against all non-EU countries in the continent of Europe. So some major countries on the EU side is Germany, France, Spain, Italy, and Poland. And some major countries on the non-EU side is the United Kingdom, Turkey, and Russia. So let's go and begin, as the EU is the aggressor here and they begin to push into the Balkans. They also go ahead and begin to they just take down all microstates, including San Marino and the Vatican. They also begin a small push into Switzerland, although it is very slow and drawn out, as Switzerland blows up those bridges and hides out in their mountains. The EU does still begin to push in, though, as these are three of the strongest EU countries surrounding them. They will not win. The EU also starts to push into Kaliningrad, but that is going to take a bit longer, as they do not have nearly the strength in the region that is necessary to defend Russia's outpost. Sweden, Denmark, and Finland do have the power to take on Norway, though, as the country fully capitulates to the Swedes and the Finnish, along with a lot of the Kola Peninsula area. With this, we see the EU finish taking out Kaliningrad and Switzerland, along with continuing their push into the Balkans before the blue team even begins to fight back. This is going to give the EU a huge advantage, but as they begin their push into Ukraine, the blue team armies finally begin to arrive, and that is seen especially over here in Ireland, as the UK wipes out the island nation with little support coming in from the rest of the EU. The countries around here, aka France, just decide to hold a naval border with the UK around here, although they do blockade them from Russia, and that's not great for them. With that, Turkey begins to push out, as the European advance into the country was unsuccessful. Surprisingly enough, Turkey actually was expecting this and somehow knew this was going to happen, so they had troops on the border prepared to push into Bulgaria and Greece, but didn't want to look like the bad guys, so they didn't invade until the last second. EU forces who are in the Balkans attempt to push back, but eventually a stalemate is reached. Over here on the border with Russia, Russia begins an invasion of the Baltic states, with Estonia falling, Latvia and Lithuania both losing land. Latvia completely capitulates, and only Polish troops remain to save Lithuania. They also begin to push into southern Finland, as it's a more important region of the country, although those troops are quickly stopped. You also see Turkish troops making a landing on Cyprus and on the island of Crete, along with a lot of other Greek islands that are here, which are not on this map, but they do exist. Trust me, they are right there. Besides that, the EU begins to send full troops into Ukraine and Belarus, wanting to limit this war as much as possible before the full blue team military is prepared to fight back. And they begin to push back into Ukraine, although eventually Ukrainian and Russian forces working together, first things first, I never thought I'd say that, but I am, are pushing back the EU heavily, although over here in Belarus, the country does capitulate to European forces. Down here in Turkey, a stalemate is reached, as neither side makes any progress. Okay, let's look at the standings here. Economy definitely goes to the European Union here. They have countries like Germany, France, Italy, and Spain, who can alone defeat the blue team in economy. And then the Benelux region, Austria, Poland, they have some very strong economies on their side. As for military strength, I might actually give it to the blue team just because they have Russia and the United Kingdom. The red team has France, Italy, but the blue team also has Turkey, who's a very powerful country as well. So yeah, it's definitely close and it's definitely a fight. But the fact is, the red team is continuing to push into Ukraine, as Russian forces have no morale at all to defend a country that isn't their own, and mostly retreat out. From there, they do have enough inspiration to re-liberate their land, and do this incredibly successfully, as they retake all Russian land that was taken by the Finns and the Swedes, and continue their invasion of Finland, cutting them off from Swedish supply lines, and continuing to starve out the country, although the EU's navy is able to blockade them, so the Russians can't get any supplies in themselves, And the EU sees their next plan of action down here in the Balkans as they kick Turkey out and kick them out of the European mainland, which is very good for them. Now they just have to hold a naval border around here, and the EU will be fully safe except for Russia. Turkey, seeing as they cannot recapture their European half, as their navy has nothing against the full Europeans, they just decide to send a majority of their army, except for some coastal guard, of course, to Russia to help them beat back the Europeans there. This goes incredibly successfully as they begin to push back in Belarus and Ukraine, with Turkish and Russian forces working together. Once again, never thought I'd say that, but hey, it's happening. And now we really see two borders being made, one with the UK and one with Russia and Turkey. How is this going for the EU? I'd say they're winning, but they definitely need a major win if they want to keep morale up. This major one is seen as they take over Iceland, although honestly it's not very difficult, and the UK's navy retreats to just solely protecting waters around their mainland. The UK's navy is very powerful and formidable, although the EU's navy, it's definitely stronger. France alone has a navy to rival the British, add in Spanish and Portuguese navies, and they're enough to break through. But for now, Britain holds on. Britain is holding on. Over here in Russia, the Russians are continuing to push back in Ukraine and Belarus. Although over here in the Nordics, the EU, with full Scandinavian troops, are pushing back the Russians all the way to the border, and even making a push back into the Kola Peninsula area. And honestly, it's not the most important land, but it's pretty easy to take due to supply issues with only the one road situation, the nuclear bomb situation, which both teams have nuclear bombs. The red team has some from France, the blue team has some from the UK and Russia. I am not going to be using them because if you ask me, it just ruins everything because neither side can really do anything. They'll just all die if there are nukes. They'll just go boom, 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 boom. Everyone dies. So yeah, since nukes benefit neither party, I'm not going to be including them. Here though, the EU has their targets set. Make a river border and hold it. This goes successfully as they push up to Ukraine and follow rivers all the way up to the Baltics. They also use the sea as they use their overpowering navy to blockade the Russians. And as they push back up into Belarus, they decide that the Baltics are going to be their most difficult front. And honestly, they do not dedicate a lot of troops up here. Russia uses this to their advantage and begins to push back up into northern Poland and recapturing Kaliningrad, along with a lot of northern Belarus. And the EU finally starts to see this when Russian troops start to enter Poland, where they eventually send some support to push back the Russians completely out of Poland, and even pushing back into Kaliningrad and Belarus. But this isn't before Russia destroys a lot of equipment in the region, hurting the EU supplies. At this point, the Russians have no money, the UK has no navy. Oh, wait, the UK has no navy. Well, the UK is forced to retreat from the island of Ireland, as slowly but surely the EU is destroying their navy bit by bit, and now it is solely concealed to protecting the mainland and the main island. So yeah, this is now what the UK Navy looks like, just solely trying to hold on to whatever they have left. Is it going to be enough? Probably not, as the EU Navy recaptures Crete and Cyprus, and now makes a naval blockade around Turkey. So yeah, now they're starving Turkey as well. Not looking great. Not looking great. They want to get full control of the Bosphorus, but as the EU tries to make a landing, Turkey fully pushes that out, ending in a lot of casualties. And now for who wins the war. Honestly, I do not even know what to tell you here. It is close. At this point, I think the EU is winning, but let's let it play out a tiny bit longer. With that, Russian troops continue to push into Belarus and Ukraine, breaking the river border. And if you're wondering how they managed to do this, it's because the EU just sent a massive invasion to make a landing in the UK, and after capturing a lot of Britain, including London, the UK surrenders. This is seen as a massive victory for the EU, as it now makes them be able to focus on just one front. And honestly, Britain was the hardest one to naval blockade. They had the most area to cover, and with the UK gone, well, let's just say the EU now has they're gonna have a lot easier of a time pushing back the Russians. Now with only this border, it's looking similar to my Europe versus Russia video, except Turkey's on the Russian side and so is Ukraine and Belarus. But it's going to end the same as EU forces are beginning to push back the Russians. The EU is having some problems, yes, but the Russian economy has now run out of gold to supply them. Their economy is completely crippled. And honestly here, in the beginning, the USA was already funding the EU, but also helping the UK. Now it's just all going to the EU. China might send some aid to Russia, but it's not nearly enough. I mean, if the Russians are struggling logistically and equipment-wise in Ukraine, yeah, this isn't going to go great. It's not going to go great. Actually, Ukraine, who is now... Well, Russia does a little bit of a thing. Yeah, Russia does a thing. Here's the Russian thing. Russia decides that their allies are doing nothing, annex Kazakhstan, annex Belarus, and attempt to annex Ukraine. With Ukraine now seeing Russia as the total enemy instead of an ally protecting them, an enemy is trying to take them, Ukraine fully flips over to the EU side, and this is a massive win for the EU. With this, the Russians were not ready, and a lot of them were holding the front over here. So with the rest of Ukraine basically rebelling, they're cut off, their supply lines are cut, and a lot of the Russian army is destroyed. With this failure, the Russians begin to fall back, as Ukraine decides they can't fully flip because of the rules of this, but a lot of these countries, including the UK, Ukraine, Moldova, Norway, Iceland, they would all join the EU if this happened in real life. Serbia would probably be the only one who stays on Russia's side. So yeah, no. There's no way that this happens in real life. Let's go ahead and finish it up anyways. With the EU troops pushing back into the Baltics, kicking out Russia from any claims they have in Europe. And as they begin to push back into Russia, a peace treaty is finally met as neither side wants to continue the war. And even though the EU sees themselves winning eventually, they don't see the war as worth it for them anymore, as too many people have already died. All economies are dying as well. The people are starving, and Russia and Turkey agreed to peace terms. So yeah, let's go and draw in these new borders as, yeah, the war is over. The battle has been won. The EU has just become a much more powerful, a much more represented force on Earth. Yeah, that's the correct way of describing them. Let's go and draw it in with the split up of Kaliningrad between Poland and and Lithuania. So is it supposed to be a 3 or a 2? Don't even know anymore. Do not even know. Definitely a 3. Okay, great. Yeah, they split up Kaliningrad. Norway goes to Sweden. A tiny bit of northern Norway goes to Finland, but a majority goes to Sweden. Along with that, Finland gets a lot of land from Russia over here in the north. And what's going to happen next? Well, Ukraine actually loses barely any land, as they in the end join the EU side to try and help them out. They're just going to lose a bit of land to Slovakia, and maybe a tiny bit of southern Ukraine to Romania as well. But yeah, these are just small seeds that they have to make for fighting the EU in the beginning of the war, but besides that, they're fine. Poland takes a good amount of land out of Belarus, or former Belarus, now Russia. Same thing with Lithuania. And Latvia and Estonia just take some land along the border. So yeah, with that, Russia's been heavily weakened. Their position in Europe has been questioned. And their hold, any influence that they had left in the world, has now been mostly eradicated, as the world now sees Russia as an incompetent frame of a power that used to be, and a lot of countries withdraw their support from the country, which a lot of countries already had when they invaded Ukraine. Yeah, that's only gotten worse. That has only gotten worse. So yeah, there we go. Here are new borders. Ukraine, of course, got some borderland. Honestly, yeah, no, they deserve it. Belarus is given back their independence, even though they do not even want it. I know those are not perfect Belarusian borders, but it'll just have to do. As for Turkey, well, their punishment is pretty much just lose a bit of land to the Greeks, lose a bit of land to the Bulgarians. You get to keep Istanbul, but just barely. As for Cyprus, any dispute over northern Cyprus is now ended, and the UK recedes any military outposts that they may still have. So yeah, Cyprus got back all the land they wanted. Ireland got back Northern Ireland. Scotland was given independence. The UK was fragmented. Wales actually decides to stay with England, but England is made into a French and German puppet. Any other changes I'm forgetting that? No, I do not think so. Russia was not, in the end, puppeted by the EU, seeing as they did come to a compromise. Oh, I forgot about Switzerland, didn't I? Forgot about Switzerland. Well, they're just divided up based on languages, including German, Italian, and French. As for the microstates, they're just annexed by their closest neighbor. And as for the Balkans, I forgot to draw this in previously, but that's fine, I'll do it right now. Croatia expands into Bosnia. Croatia expands into Serbia. Kosovo is given to Albania. Nope, I'm not giving Montenegro to Albania. I know what that will for. Wait, was Albania even on the... No, Albania was against them. Okay, well, Albania is still going to be united with Kosovo, and they're going to be given all that's left of North Macedonia, as the rest of it either went to the Greeks or the Bulgarians. The Bulgarians also get some land out of Serbia, and the rest of this is turned into a new Serb confederation. There, now we can draw this in. We also see Slovenia uniting with Croatia to form the Northern Croats Union. I don't know. Slovenia, I'm sorry, I don't know exactly what you identify as. I couldn't tell you exactly now. But yeah, this new Serbs Confederation, pretty strong country actually. They probably gained land, although they did lose a lot. And they're now Balkan protectorate, is what I mean, they're called a protectorate, but they're pretty much just a puppet regime. As for Albania, they only gained land. Surprisingly, Greece doesn't take any of it. So yeah, Albania, you're doing great. Good job. As for Switzerland, yeah, you're gone. Southern Switzerland goes to Italy, and yes, I know these are not the exact language borders, but honestly, I don't have 10 years to get the exact line back correctly, and that's close enough. Also, why is that straight? Why? Why are you straight? There we go. Just, like, in Africa, straight lines, like, I try to make straight lines because it just looks straight. But making straight lines in Europe, what did you do to Africa? Now everyone wants to draw straight lines there. It's all your fault, but you're not getting any straight lines because that looks weird. This also looks weird. Yeah, treaty, end of World War II, you can't unite. Too bad, okay? They speak the same language. They're similar enough and the borders look bad. That still doesn't look amazing, but it looks better, so I'm doing it. With that, let's give Poland all their land. So hey, Germany expanded, but so did Poland. So did Poland for sure. But then again, the Russians did enter into northern Poland and absolutely destroy any infrastructure at all that was in there. So yeah, it may not be as nice as it looks. Getting some land at the cost of losing what took you years to make. Don't really think it's worth it. Of course, Moldova is united with Romania, and the issue of Transnistria is solved. Okay, any other changes I'm missing here? Yes, the Ukrainian-Russian border. So basically what happened here is at the end of the war, Ukraine saw Russia less as a help and more as a, I'm only in this war with you so I can annex you at the end. So they of course switched sides, which isn't technically allowed, but the people rebelling is allowed, so that's what they did in the book, okay? In the real world, they would just switch sides, but here we're counting it as a rebellion. That rebellion does get some Russian lands. Over here in the Baltics, all Baltic states are expanded in size. Finland, your new borders look amazing. Please get these borders in real life. I don't think anyone is objecting to that. Probably the Russians, but you know what? It's 7.9 billion to 100 million. So yeah, I think we can win that. Also, I don't like how they take Norway. It looks too clean. I know that that's normally a good thing, but too, like, flowy. It's fine. It's fine. These borders are way too... They're not exact, but I needed a European map, so this is what we got. But yeah, these are pretty much our final borders. Let's go ahead and color everything in white. Oh, no. I did not miss a country this time. I still have to give Greece and Bulgaria the rest of their rounds. Also, Bulgaria, these borders... Yeah, these borders are nice, Bulgaria. Get these borders in real life. Maybe even some land from Romania to make it look even nicer. The old Bulgarian borders are so nice. Please, Bulgaria. Honestly, if the Germans had won World War I or II, I would have liked it just for the Bulgarian borders. That's besides the point. The EU has won, although it did end in a stalemate. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.